Hello and welcome to the Keto Man's Club podcast.
We're glad you're here, where each week we talk about men's health and lifestyle.
We do so with the foundation of the ketogenic diet and lifestyle.
If you don't know what keto is, stick around and you'll find out.
The podcast will bring you real, honest fun.
Each week we strive to uncover the tips and tricks that you can use in your everyday life to maximize your overall health.
Find the clearest path to becoming the best version of yourself that you were meant to be.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Keto Man's Club podcast. My name is Chris. I'm one of your hosts, and today, as always, I'm joined by Jim and Alberto. Jim, how's it going?
Not too bad, sir. Spring is in the air, blue skies. I've been out mowing the last couple weekends here and there. So as a allergy sufferer, I am proud to be doing my part to stir it all up.
Yeah, unfortunately, those things are kind of necessary if you don't want to jungle like my backyard.
Yep.
Luckily, I've got a fence that nobody can see past, so it can be as jungly as they want. My dogs enjoy romping, and so, you know, it's all good.
It is.
Yeah. Alberto, how about you? What's new?
Oh, all kinds of stuff. I had mentioned off air about a week ago about the Meat RX podcast being interested in my story and how like it went straight to my junk box, so I missed it by like 2 weeks. And I actually responded and asked them, you know, if the offer's on the table, I'd love to talk to you guys. And little did I know that they responded to me and actually set up a date and a time and a link that I completely missed because, again, it went straight to my junk box.
Oh, wow.
So luckily we ended up reconnecting, and then we set another appointment for this coming Sunday, which I got in my phone and every available calendar that's in front of me to make sure we don't miss it. It's going to be a Zoom call, so there'll be a video. I'm no idea what they're going to use it for or how they're going to use it or when it's going to be released, but it should be interesting nonetheless.
Very, very cool. Well, that will be great, and it'll be awesome to see another person get to share their story about how they were able to use ketogenic and carnivore diets to really amplify the healing and completely reverse something that doctors told you for so long that you would never be able to be passed without medicine for the rest of your life. And that's
it'll be fun. It'll be a good time. I got to like dress up for it because it's a video. I'm going to feel like I'm logging in for work back in my corporate days.
No, see, I thought you were going to be able to go shirtless. And that's why they
they had a very specific, list. I don't want to say demands, that sounds bad, but a list of requirements as far as lighting and background and what you're wearing and how you look. So obviously they plan on using the video for something.
Yeah.
But other than that, the only other funny thing that happened this week was, every day we take our family for walks without masks on because we're rebels. But we go up and down the block, and wasn't that long ago we were going for a walk, and I happened to just be wearing my Vibrams because they were the first shoes I had on. And my 9-year-old daughter, who's my little twin, and I'll post a picture of it so you guys know what I'm talking about. She always wants to race. She is crazy fast for a 9-year-old. She's got really big feet for her size. That kid can run. And I finally figured out a way to make it even because she always tries real hard to beat me, and luckily I can still win. So she was in her running shoes. I was in my Vibrams, and we did a sprint race for speed, and I barely beat her. So I think we have a new family challenge on our hands now.
Nice. That is very cool. Well, I had a quick little interview yesterday over Zoom myself with Beard Brands. They're a brand that does beard oils and all sorts of different cosmetic products that are designed and geared towards men, and they're based here in Austin. And they put out the call a couple weeks ago when the lockdown was coming into place and everything, and they're like, so who wants to grow their hair and beard out and let us give you a makeover after all this is said and done once the lockdown is removed? And I'm like, hey, why not? So I did a little interview with them. And the reason I mentioned that is they asked, I said, I even have my own podcast. And then they asked me what my podcast was called. And so the Keto Man's Club got a bit of a plug, and I will probably, unless they give me other guidelines, wear my Keto Man's Club t-shirt to the video shoot so that we can get on the video as well, because that will be a lot of fun, and subtle subliminal messaging there and all of that. So that'll be interesting. Probably be a month out or something like that, because they want to make sure that there's plenty of opportunity for a big reveal, big change, and all that type of stuff. So it should be a fun little experience to do. And I'm really bad at growing out my hair, so that's a good challenge for me. So anyway,
that is awesome.
Yeah,
good deal.
Yeah, it will be really, really fun.
It'll be
so
cool.
It's going to be cool.
And again, the power of social media, because now you can just put a call out, and they're going to have probably people lined up that are willing to do this. Whereas before, it would have been a lot more difficult to get just to line something like this up. And now a couple clicks and all the all the advertisement you want is right there at your fingertips.
Yep, absolutely. Well, Jim, have you done the Welcome Wednesday things yet? I'm not sure that I saw them go out yet.
Yes, sir, I did.
Okay.
Yeah, we continue to, it just kind of amazes me. We keep growing week by week in both Keto Men's Club and TKMC Beginners. And we've got some new guys that joined. One is a 47-year-old kindergarten teacher who's been following keto since January, and he's just almost to his goal weight. Another guy is a bus driver from Indiana. Another guy is a instructional designer from Iowa. Hey, guess what? There's nobody from Texas so far. So, side note from the pre-show interview discussion, but we'll leave that for the imagination of our listeners. So every Wednesday in the Keto Man's Club, we give a little love to the new guys in the group.
Very cool. It's so fun to see the growth and you just see the reach that is being met through the group, and the fun, the most amazing, most fun part, and the reason that it's important to me, and I know it's important to the rest of us in this podcast, is that each one of these men that share their story, it's another life changed by a dietary and a lifestyle change, and that is one person at a time changing the world. And that to me is so very cool, to be a very small piece in that giant puzzle that this is making. So it's very cool to do that. Any other keto news that we should talk about? I know at this point it's kind of, we're all, for those listening, yes, we're still technically in lockout. This will air in like 5 weeks from now, so who knows where we'll be a month from now. Heck, the beer brand thing might be happening like as we speak. Who knows?
Well, let's just do this. Currently, I feel blank.
Fill it in later.
Lockdown.
Yeah.
Excited. Shut away. plug in whatever you need to there, Chris.
Okay, appreciate that. I had to do a Chris from the Future thing, an episode or two back, and so hopefully we won't have to do that for this one. So it's been kind of a kind of crazy time, but it's great to be able to see that even amongst that crazy time, the lives that are getting changed and that we're getting to interact with and everything. And we're at 3,424 members in the Keto Man's Club right this minute. That's just an insane number, and we're continue, like you said, to see growth in both the beginners and the main group, and so it is continuing to snowball, and that's a very cool thing.
And the important part of that number too is we probably deny more people than we let in.
Oh gosh, yes.
So you think of it that way, it's like they're almost hand chosen, just based on their knowledge of keto and their background, but yeah, I mean, it would be a much larger group if we just accepted everyone and kind of booted them as we saw fit. But we try not to run it that way. And by we, I mean Jim.
Team effort, total team effort. It's led out of Indiana, but we'll just leave that alone for another discussion. Indiana 1, Texas 0. Oh, you had to be there 20 minutes before we started recording, ladies and gentlemen. We'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
I'll shut up now.
And talking about Texas, today's guest is another Texan, one of the guys that we've had the great opportunity to get to interact with on a few different occasions in the past few years, and he's been a great member of our group. He is he is a champion in the ketogenic world, and has been developing his own coaching services as well in the ketogenic space under the Keto Evangelist umbrella and all of that. So welcome to the show, Bradley. Brad, how's it going?
Oh, not so bad. How you guys doing? Everybody except for Jim.
It's been great talking to you, Bradley. Have a great show.
Oh, it's good to have you on finally. I know we've been talking back and forth a couple times, and it's been a kind of a scheduling thing to try to get you in, and we're glad to get you in now. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Kind of give us the backstory of the backstory. You don't have to necessarily get into the health side of things quite yet, but tell us a little bit about who you are, and just give us the basics, and then we'll go from there.
Okay. Yeah. Bradley Banner, like you said, I have been doing keto for about 3 years now. So, kind of versed in it. Not sure if say well versed, but I've been at it for a little while. But I work in the oil field. That's what I do that's my day job. So, that's pretty much mainly what I'm sticking to as far as day-to-day stuff goes. Just a regular Texas dude, like to hunt, like to do stuff like that. But this whole keto thing and this lifestyle thing has really been something that's been a big deal for me, and I've seen it help a lot of people, which has been pretty neat.
Very cool. Well, tell us a little bit about your family, where you started health-wise, why you felt that you needed to pursue and find keto.
Yeah. So my family, my immediate family is pretty small. It's just one brother, one sister. My extended family is about 80 people, so we're pretty large family. But yeah, so I graduated from Texas State University in 2009, and I found myself at about 265 pounds. I'm 6'5", so I'm a pretty tall guy, but I was pretty overweight whenever I graduated. So what I actually did was started studying nutrition, started studying all the current things that were being recommended as far as how to lose weight, how to be healthy, how to transform from an unhealthy person to a healthy person. And I ended up getting an ISSA certification in personal training and nutrition. And I took all the exams, I passed all the exams, and I applied everything that I learned to myself. And I had some results. The results weren't, they weren't optimal in my mind. I lost some weight, but I also lost a lot of muscle mass. I couldn't. It was just I'd gotten down to a lower body weight, but it wasn't um, a healthy build. I would say I was definitely not happy with that. But the problem with it was sticking to it was detrimental to the results. Eventually, I just wound up gaining a bunch of weight back, and it just wasn't working. So the people that I was working with at the time, was trying to help people, family, friends, do the same thing. They weren't getting results, and I just thought they weren't being compliant. When in reality, my results weren't anything what I wanted them to be. So for some, I just kind of eventually thought to myself, there's something wrong with the system, not me, not them. And started looking for something different, and just kind of stumbled upon these people that weren't eating any carbohydrates, that had clearly lost their minds, and thought, well, I've tried everything else, so I might as well give it a shot. And I found some really great results, and just kind of took it from there.
So, graduating from college at 265 and 6'5", were you doing weights? Was this all from eating pizza and drinking beer? What was the
I did 12-ounce curls every day.
Good for you, man.
that's what got me to the 265. I had stayed relatively active in college. I played a lot of disc golf. In between working is basically work at school, and disc golf is what I did. But it really didn't matter how active I got. My diet was just atrocious. So I just ended up leaving there way out of shape.
Was a family situation? I mean, you mentioned your brother and sister. Do they have any kind of weight struggles growing up as well or anything?
No. Strangely enough, I mean, my sister is one of those metabolisms. I guess it's just super fast. She's a tall, thin girl, and my brother has always been pretty athletic. He's always had the ability to any extra body weight he gets on, he can drop pretty quick. But we grew up in a feed mill, so we owned a feed mill in Gonzales, Texas. My family does, and that's what we did growing up. So when I was 13 years old, I was throwing feed stacks that were 50 pounds whenever I weighed 78 pounds. So, there was always some kind of resistance training in my life, whether I liked it or not.
Yep.
But it just, you just the old thing of you can't out exercise a bad diet is definitely true.
Absolutely, man. So about 3 years ago ish, researched the crazy low carb people and decided to give it a go. How did it start off for you, and how was your experience getting going?
So the the one thing I do find odd about myself is that I have never experienced any kind of keto flu issues. I know that's a common occurrence with people, and in my opinion, in my experience, it's usually an electrolyte imbalance that causes it. But my transition was actually extremely easy. I really have always been a big fan of eating meat, regardless of what even back then the media was telling us don't eat meat. Eat lean meat, don't eat fatty meat. I found out that I can eat, ribeyes and hamburgers and just go to town on that kind of stuff. So I just kind of went with it, and the transition was actually pretty easy. I do remember in the beginning energy lagged for maybe a month or two, but really it wasn't that bad. And at the time I was working out quite a bit, and I didn't really notice any athletic performance lagging because of the dietary changes.
Yeah, that was very similar to how it was for me. Like I can recall being like a little more tired than usual, but nothing too crazy. But same thing, I never experienced any kind of keto flu, and then even in the gym, like I experienced no negative side effects at all. It was almost like from day one, and it might have all been mental, like that you're trying something new, you're going for it. But from the first day I went in there, everything started getting better.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's to me it seems like, and anecdotally obviously, but in my experience, the longer you go, the better it gets, the easier it gets. I think in the beginning a lot of people struggle because they're trying to break those food addiction cravings and stuff like that, and they relapse it on a small scale or a large scale, and either way it kind of sets them back a little bit. So I think once you get through that kind of stuff, it does get easier, and it's much more sustainable once you get to that point.
So what surprised you, or like what caught you off guard? Yeah, you obviously done the personal training side of things, so you probably had some type of precept or idea of what to expect. Were you caught off guard at all, or what kind of stuck out?
Yeah, the thing that stuck out the most was that it actually freaking worked. It was a dietary intervention that had legitimate results that were sustainable. Um, like I said, I dropped down to a low weight at one point, and that I looked terrible. I felt terrible. I didn't have any energy, and I gained a bunch of weight back from that point. Well, then I lost it all again with this approach, and I wasn't experiencing any of the negative side effects of the actual success. It was just purely the success that what I was left to handle, and I've tried a bunch of different stuff. Different protocols, whether it be I never went vegan. I know a lot of people did that or have done that. I never did that. I did a month or two of like a pescatarian approach. I've done a lower meat approach in the past before I knew better. Please forgive me. But none of those things worked, or if they did work, they didn't work as well, nor were the results sustainable and actually held the test of time.
Yeah, it seems to be a common thread once you figure it out. And then not only that, but you're not, like you said, you're not suffering to lose the weight. You're not on chicken and broccoli, 6 meals a day. So that seems to have a big effect on the people that find immediate success when you're able to eat the stuff you really enjoy eating that was considered taboo at one point.
Yeah.
So you enjoy the way that you're getting to eat, meat wise, and not have to worry about trying to take out the good stuff, which is of course the fat and everything else like that. What was the reaction to those around you as you kind of made that transition?
Oh, I mean, I think it's pretty common to we're talking 3 years ago, so 2017. Most people hadn't really dipped into this. They all thought I lost my mind, and I thought that was fine. I was okay with them thinking that because I felt good. And it's funny though. The longer you stick to it, the more results you get. If you don't tell people what to do and you just show them how you've done it, they become a lot more curious versus when you tell them what to do. So, whereas at one point they all thought I was going to die of a heart attack at 32 and all this other stuff. My mom's been using the keto approach for about 6 or 7 months now. I've been doing great. My sister-in-law's been doing it with my help. She's been doing great. My brother, who swore he would never touch this dietary protocol, is actually starting to dip his toes in a little bit. So, the people closest to me, who are the people that see the results the most frequently, are the ones that are now turning around and saying, "Hey, you're probably onto something here," and asking help about it.
What's their light bulb moment when you talk with them and kind of help get them started on the path? Where do they get that aha feeling? Is it right at the start, or where have you seen it?
I've seen it more so once they get into it for a little bit. They're doing it for a little while, and they realize it's not as scary as it seems. Same thing with clients. Everyone kind of thinks in the beginning that this is just some big monster that's really scary because it's nutrition and it's dietary, and it's not something they're familiar with. But once you get into the weeds a little bit, which you find out aren't as long as you actually think they are, it's not as scary, and you realize you can do this and you can handle it, and it is sustainable, and the food is good, and you don't have to eat as often because you're not as hungry as often, and you're getting results, and it kind of all snowballs together. But it takes a little bit of time, but once that small amount of time does pass and they start to realize kind of what's compounding on top of each other and actually with the results they're getting from it, it's pretty cool to see.
And and I am you talked about being an oil man. You talked about what was the disc golf that you played in college? Is that right? Frisbee golf,
Yeah,
disc golf.
yeah, yes.
So, are you asking your family members and the people you're kind of coaching? Are you asking them to do some tie in some physical activity with the keto plan as well?
Yeah, I think I definitely am under the I definitely believe you can do it, and you can get results as far as weight loss and stuff goes with just a ketogenic approach. I do believe that, and I've seen people do it. Me personally, though, I'm kind of a physical activity guy, so I think the combination of the two is just it's not 1 + 1 = 2. It's 1 + 1 = 7, in my opinion. I mean, you add the physical activity to it. You're not just working towards a weight loss goal at that point. You're working towards longevity in your life, and I think that's really the goal that everyone should be working towards, is not just making themselves skinnier or less less obese, but that plus extending your life as much as possible. Talking about reducing muscle loss as you age and everything else that ties into longevity is tied into physical activity. So I definitely do encourage very, very highly resistance training of some sort, whether that be wall push-ups or Alberto squats, and deadlifts. You're somewhere in between needs to be going on at the same time, in my opinion.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more because I mean, and like as we've all stated before, and even Chris can speak to it. Like once that energy spike hits, then that's when people seem to like, okay, well, we got to do something, and that's usually when the exercise takes off. And my nephew, who is actually in the group now, Andrew Casillas, just started a keto himself, and he's about, I think, on his 5th week strict, and he's 23 years old, so he's the age where we wish we would have all started. And he was messaging me the other day, and he was just saying that like he's like the insane amount of energy. He's like I can't believe like every day is getting better and better and better. Now to the point where he's going to start working like jogging in the morning and lifting weights in the evening because he's like, I don't know what else to do.
Yeah. I kind of wish I could get back to that point because that is kind of one of those things that for some reason for me, and it's probably been a mixture of stress and sleep and just how full my plate is on a day-to-day basis. I find that I'm burning every ounce of energy I've got right now. So let's talk about numbers. You've turned the corner. You've lost weight and things like that. Where are you at now?
Right now, I'm sitting at about 220 pounds. Pretty happy with that.
Mm-hmm.
I had gotten down at one point I got down to about 208, and that was using a strict keto approach. And I didn't look bad. I liked the way I looked, I really did, but I kind of felt like I wanted to put on a little bit extra weight as far as more muscle mass, and so that's kind of what I focused on. And just eat a lot of protein, eat a lot of protein, eat a lot of fat, and lift a lot of weights. I think I'm one of those ones that believes that heavy is subjective. It's not necessarily that I'm putting up 400 pounds on my bench press, or 300 pounds for that matter. But you get in there and you lift the weights up and down enough times, you put a little muscle mass on.
Totally.
Yes.
And like diet, well, not diet, but health wise, what biomarkers are you seeing that you have improved? Do you have any like A1C numbers or anything like that compare from before to now?
Oh, so I never really did like the annual physical thing very much before going keto, but the last couple years I've made sure to ask for an A1C and for a C-reactive protein score for the last 2 years when I've done my blood work, and I don't even remember what the number is for A1C. I think is it 5.1 or 5.0 good. I'm pretty sure that's around where it was, somewhere around a 5. And C-reactive protein was so low it almost didn't register, the doctor said. So that's, to me, that's an indicator of success. I mean, blood
Absolutely.
ketones to me range from 1 to 3. I mean, but I don't chase ketone levels.
Mm-hmm.
I know I'm in ketosis, so I don't really care what the keto mojo tells me.
Sure. And it doesn't matter what meter you have from what company, the results are going to be at least somewhat inconsistent. So how you feel is a much better consistent type of tool to test how you feel, or how you're doing in that regard, than the blood or breath meters that you might have. Those are just ways to get additional confirmation, trackable numbers. And I thrive on those, so I still do those from time to time. But it is one of those things that I would rather feel good than have a super high number. So
Yeah, no, I
go ahead.
totally agree. And that's my thing too. Is I'm kind of like you. I'll check it every now and then
Mm,
just to check it, just because I do like data as
yeah.
well. But I try to tell people, don't focus on the numbers so much. As long as you're feeling good, as long as you use your own body as your meter
Mm-hmm.
for the most part.
Yep, absolutely. That's a great segue to what I was thinking about digging into next. You transition now. You've kind of taken control with your own. Now you were already doing some training before you found keto, and now you're training under a ketogenic approach. Tell us more about how that experience has been and what type of responses you've been getting and seeing from that.
Yeah, so I guess helping people before applying the keto approach and helping people afterwards, the main difference really is there's a lot more reluctancy to try this approach versus trying the standard American approach, or just eat less, move more kind of situation. Because that's what everyone's been told their entire life. That's what works. You eat low fat and you don't eat much food, and you just move a lot more, and you're gonna look like Michael Phelps, and that's just not the case. And people find that hard to believe, and I think it's one of those things you kind of got to experience for yourself to actually see the light. And when people come to me and they say, "Hey, I need help," what's your approach? What do you do? I tell them, "Well, hey, I do a ketogenic diet. This is kind of the macros I follow. This is the protocol I recommend." And most of the time they're like, "Well, there's no way that can work." And it always turns into a, well, let's talk about the body. Let's talk about how that works. Let's talk about insulin. Let's talk about everything else that's kind of related to it. And your glucose levels, and how there's sugar in literally everything you look at. I mean, you could probably look a wall and have a blood glucose spike. So it's it's those kind of apprehensions that are a little hard to hurdle over in the beginning, but once they get it, they get it, and they get it by seeing results, and if they're consistent and they actually are trying, which most people are very, very eager to try because because they've tried so many other things. I mean, that was one of the things that was so frustrating with me is personally, I had tried. I was doing everything by the book. I mean, I had passed tests over the stuff, and I knew how to do it, and I knew my trainer wasn't telling me the wrong thing because I was my trainer. So it's the fact that it wasn't working was to me, there's something wrong with the system is what I finally came upon, and that's what people realize, and that's that. But the apprehension in the beginning is definitely the main difference between now and back then.
And do you find that apprehension is getting easier, like the more popular keto is becoming, or do you find people like are still intrigued by it, but when it time comes down to that moment of pulling the trigger, that they still get a little kind of sketched out by it?
Yeah, I think it's kind of a mixture of both. I mean, people see results on the internet. People see people's stories on the internet that are being posted, and they say, well, this person did this, and I mean, will this really work? And some of them come and they're just really energetic and they're excited to try it. But even those people are sometimes, like you said, when it's time to actually pull the trigger, they're a little bit apprehensive. But those people jump a little easier than the ones that just come to me kind of blindly or kind of cold and say, well, hey, I kind of hear you help people lose weight. And I'm like, yeah, actually, I do. And they say, well, what do you do? And, if it starts from almost like a cold call situation, it's a little bit harder to get them to join on. But it's only because it's not because I want to word this correctly. It's just ignorance. They don't know what they don't know. And, they don't spend their time looking at different research and everything else, and just all these keto things that I end up looking at every single day. They don't spend their time doing that, so they just don't know, and it's not their fault. But yeah, I mean they'll jump over too. You just gotta talk them through it and make sure that that you'll be supportive and you'll help them do whatever they help them get to their goals with the approach you're working with.
Do you find that people are willing to follow the path, so to speak, but once they get to their goal, they're ready to go back to nachos, chips, bread, etc.? Or are they wanting to stick with it and find the happy balance of living with keto, where they're not losing weight? They're maintaining what their goal is.
Yeah, so I mean, I've definitely seen both. There's times where people will get to their goal weight, their ideal situation, whatever that is. I don't always like to just pin it on a weight, but
Sure.
get to where they want to be, and they think, well, okay, I've done it. The journey is over. I've succeeded, and I'm going to go back to what I was doing. And I always just tell them, that's your choice. You do whatever you want to do, but just remember, those are the actions that got you the results you had before. The results you have now are from a totally different set of circumstances, and it would probably behoove you to stick to those versus the other. But you do what you want to do, and then on the other side, there's a lot of people that once by the time they're getting to that point where they're really getting to where they want it to go, they're so far into it they're never going back. So you couldn't you throw a biscuit at them and they'll dodge it. That
Oh, good stuff, man. Good stuff. So let's change gears a little bit, just because I find a lot of things you do fascinating. You obviously have a lot going on, and it sounds like you're the average Texan, but you also like to hunt. So
I
tell us a
do.
little bit more about your hunting activities and what your preferred way to go about hunting is.
Oh man, well, how much time do we have? You didn't tell me this is going to turn into a hunting podcast. All right, so let's see. I mean, probably my number one favorite thing is probably turkey hunting. That's it's turkey season right now. I'm going on Sunday. I'm actually going on Friday. So, and actually, I'm gonna bring a shotgun with me if we don't get any turkeys at this one spot I'm going to. I'm bringing an AR and we're gonna put some hogs down. So we'll get something done on Friday. I'm not sure exactly what we're going to be hunting that day. We'll see what we run into. But yeah, I've gone, I don't know, 5 or 6 times this season already. I like to go, and there's a group of guys I like to take with me. We've got a place down here that it's pretty thick with turkey. So I always like to there's 3 guys I like to take with me. I always like to get them one each year. So I let those guys all three get one this year, and then I got one myself after they all did. Um, Definitely always use a shotgun for that. I haven't used a bow yet, but I think next year I'm gonna fire up the old Matthews and see if I can't stick one with a bow. But deer hunting's definitely one of my favorite things to do. I made my first bow kill this year with a doe. That was pretty cool. Well, no, that's not true. I did kill a buck the year before. So two with a bow. Usually I've usually hunted with a rifle in the past, obviously. Dove hunting is one of my favorite things ever. That's pretty cool. Sandhill crane. If you've never had sandhill crane and you can find a way to get it, it is the best meat I've ever had in my life, and that is better than ribeye, which is my favorite thing ever.
Is that the ribeye of the sky?
That's it. That's it. It's a big bird. They're real mean and they're hard to kill. But if you can get one, it's pretty great. Definitely, it's kind of weird if you the whenever I first tried it, it was before the keto days. We deep fried some of it, which kind of tastes like a cross between a dove and a deer. And then if you grill it, man, it tastes just like a ribeye. It's delicious.
And it's red meat, right?
Yeah, it is. It's a dark red meat, kind of like a duck, but darker. I don't. It sounds weird because some of the ducks are really really dark, but yeah, it's a deep red, dark red meat, and it's good stuff.
That's awesome, man. I have to get together with you one time. I've been wanting to go hunting. I've never been hunting. I've just never known exactly who to ask, but I think we just figured that out.
Oh, dude, yeah. You just let me know if you wanna go get on some hogs, or like I said, turkey season ends this weekend down here, so that'll be the last one. But there'll be one next year, and yeah, deer. I could put you on some stuff for sure.
So, out of all the things you've hunted, what's your favorite meal to come out of all that?
Oh, definitely Sandhill crane, no doubt. But I mean, I don't know. Me and my brother were like you said, kind of grew up in a feed store. Grew up in Gonzales, Texas, birthplace of Texas independence. Shout out. Small town, but there's not a whole lot we won't eat. So we we've eaten some pretty weird stuff before. What people think are kind of weird, but yeah, the Sandhill crane, as far as something I've actually harvested from the wild, is definitely my favorite.
Well, and that experience is one that I haven't actually experienced, but I know that from everyone that I've seen or heard, there is something visceral and real about that hunting experience, that going out and dragging back your food. Tell us a little bit more about how that experience has been for you, and kind of any lessons learned from that.
Yeah, so for me, and I think this goes for the majority of legal hunters. The people that are actually doing it for conservation and food purposes. I think we are very very prideful on the fact that we're not going out to kill animals because it's fun. We're not going out because we're bored on a Thursday. It's something we're doing to feed our families, to feed ourselves, and the way you do it matters.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and I'll tell you this, like the doe that I killed this last year, I had actually, like I said, I'd killed the buck with my bow, because to me that's always been kind of the, I don't know, to me it's like a big deal to get a good clean bow kill, a quick kill, a clean shot in the animal's life quickly, as quickly as you can. That's always something that I've wanted to experience. And I've the buck that I shot, I didn't make the best shot. He died pretty quickly. He didn't die as quickly as I wanted him to. And this year I sat in that blind. I was waiting and waiting and waiting, and sat there for 2 or 3 days. I think I went for 3 days, and it was on the last day I finally actually got to take the shot. And it was almost like a year or two, basically, of just anticipation of pulling that release, and letting that arrow go, and actually making a clean shot, and watching the deer die quickly, to know that it didn't suffer, because the arrows are so sharp, the broadheads are so sharp, they don't feel anything. She made it about 20 yards, she dropped, and that was it. And the actual feeling of knowing that I couldn't have done that better. I couldn't have given that animal a quicker death, and that was what I gave it. It gave me plenty food and nutrition for my family. It's just an exchange, and it's just a really, really cool thing to experience.
Very cool. Yeah, and that's something that one of these days, and I have plenty of opportunity to do so. My wife's family all has hunting. They have land out in the Lexington, Texas area or Houston. There's just plenty of opportunity out there. Like I could literally just go out and shoot anything I want anytime I want if I wanted to. So one of these days I'll get out there and help them control their hog population or something. We'll see.
Yeah.
But that being said, let's shift gears again and talk a little bit more in depth about your workout routine, kind of what you have done fitness wise, what you're doing, as we mentioned earlier, right now, while maybe limited in the facilities that you have, what is your routine like, and what has it been during this time of lockdown?
So, I mean, I don't. You see so many people that say they can't go to the gym and they can't have a progressive overload, or they can't do this, they can't do that. My answer to that is do 50 push-ups in a row, because if you can't do 50 push-ups in a row, you've got progression to go. And a lot of people can't do full pull-ups. You can't do push-ups. There's so many things with body weights you can do that there's so many benchmarks myself that I haven't reached, even though that's the kind of stuff that I like to do here lately. Um, there's you can do weighted vests. There's all kinds of stuff that you can do to actually make a really hard workout. And one of the things that people don't think about is to just go way slower. If you do a push up where you're going down for 10 seconds, down 10 seconds up, you're gonna be gassed after 4 or 5 if you can get that many in.
Yeah.
And one thing that I've been utilizing a lot, and I really do like, is two things, I guess. One thing is there's a kickboxing gym that I'm a member of, and they've been doing kind of like online workouts. So I'm doing kind of some of that stuff at the house. No heavy bags or anything like that. So it's basically like a cardio workout. I've got a rowing machine that I like to utilize just because I think that's the best piece of cardio equipment in the world. Um, besides a pair of tennis shoes, I guess, if you're just going to go for long walks, which are good for other things, meditation and stuff like that. But the I've been using resistance bands quite a bit, and I bought some of those like 2 years ago, well, a year and a half ago, I guess. And they give you such a good workout, and they don't seem like they're that difficult. But man, there's one specific leg workout I do, and I mean, and I've got it from the program, and I'm telling you, after 2 or 3 exercises, I'm just drenched in sweat. And I guess the other main thing really is kettlebells. I've got a couple. I've got a 50-pound kettlebell. It's nothing like that. I don't know if anyone's ever seen that Sean Baker 176-pound kettlebell. That just blows my mind every time I see that thing. But I'll try to do like a 75 at a time, which is sets of 20 or 30, and just get to 75 or 100. And then I've got a couple lighter ones that I like to utilize. But I think kettlebells are really good. I think bands are really good. I think rowing machine's cool. But I think if nothing else, you can do a lot of stuff with body weight, and you can actually make some pretty good progress with just utilizing that.
I completely agree with that. I just started doing more body weight stuff myself, and and I actually bought into a program just because I needed a little structure in my life and in my routine, and a lot of it was the way these things are stacked. The way Athlete X stacks the routines for you to where you're not just doing 50 push-ups in a row. Like you're doing, push-ups into a T-plank with your left arm straight up in the air. And you go back down and do another push-up. You go the other direction with your right arm in the air. You go back down, you do 3 plyo push-ups. And then, you do 3 little mini push-ups where you're just barely getting off the ground. And then you'll get to the ground and you'll try to hold it. Just hold yourself at the bottom, hovering off the ground for a minute. I mean, all in, you might be getting to 20 total reps, but it is the roughest experience of your life, and so there's a plenty that could definitely be done. And he actually has an entire program, the one that I bought, that is 100% exclusively body weight, and like the only thing that is even considered equipment is he has you use a door jam to do a makeshift pulling exercise where you kind of put your feet up against the door and pull yourself towards the door jam, real slowly. But I'm super impressed with just the little bit that I've been going through and just stuff that I would have never thought of. And, and that kind of goes to kind of speaking as to where I wanted to go next is like, even coaches have coaches. I'm not a coach, but I mean, I've been working out forever. I've been training pretty much my whole life and most consistently since 2012. So it's not that I don't know how to put together a routine for myself, but sometimes you just need that outside perspective and someone else to kind of take an objective look at something and put something together for you. And now I'm doing things that I would have never imagined I would even have tried that are way out of my comfort zone. But what they're doing is fixing a lot of imbalances that I didn't know I had and taking care of, and also making me realize I am not nearly as coordinated as I thought I was. but there's no shame in reaching out and asking for help, like regardless of what level you're at.
No, not at all. I mean, I've worked with Robert Sykes before. I know you guys know him. He helped me get some stuff done and get to some goals I was looking to get to that I could have got to, but man, I thought maybe he was a little bit better fitted to help me get there. And I still have a great relationship with him. And I don't know. Yeah, there's some people that feel like they have to do it on their own, and sometimes it's just okay to have somebody else help you out. It's really not that big a deal. People like me, I mean, I don't do it because I'm just murdering the game on money or anything. I do it because I love to help people, and I love to see people be happy and be in the body and mindset that they want to be in. That's just the coolest thing there is to me.
So, with all of these points and things and everything that you've been sharing with us, where do you direct people who are wanting to learn about keto? Where do you tell them to go and start learning about it?
So me personally, my where I started was like dietdoctor.com is a great website to check out. They they'll charge you like $9 a month if you want to do their membership thing, but it's all only paid for by the members, so there's no industry influence, which I think is pretty cool. Ketoevangelist.com is a great resource. The Keto Men's Club, I send people there all the time. One of my best friends, who I've actually been helping for a while, he joined a while back, and he was real excited whenever y'all called his name out whenever on the Welcome Wednesday. But I think those are all good resources. I mean, there's definitely a lot of books out there that you can get into. I think a lot of people, for the simplicity of it and just the ground zero kind of thing, Jimmy Moore's book is pretty solid information that's broken down pretty simply to understand.
Keto Clarity?
Yes, Keto Clarity. Sorry, I was thinking the cholesterol clarity for some reason in my mind. But yeah, whenever they first start, that's kind of the direction I point them in if they're wanting to just get information. But there's a lot of Facebook groups that, like I said, Keto Evangelist, Keto Men's Club, if you can get in, good information that's free, and there's a lot of people in there that just are in there to help, and it's pretty neat environments.
Absolutely. Me and Berto both have our roots from the Keto Evangelist side of things, and they've got some great resources that have been built up and all of that. So that's been great. So let's go ahead and dig into your contact information, how people can get a hold of you, and all of that if they want to reach out and ask or investigate what coaching options are there for you if they think that you might be a good resource for them. How can people reach you?
Okay, so I'm pretty active on Facebook. Bradley Fainer it's just my normal personal page. I don't have a business page or anything or anything like that. It's just my regular page. Instagram, I'm at keto_Brad. I like to post stuff about working out, shooting turkeys, stuff like that. And then ketoevangelist.com is where my coaching resources are. So you can find my link on there. You can see my bio. Kind of goes into some of the stuff. One thing I wanted to mention, besides everything else we've talked about, is one thing I'm really, really heavy on is the mental aspect of weight loss and the battling body dysmorphia and those types of things, which is something I've dealt with in the past pretty heavily. So I really like to help people work through that, and that's mentioned in the bio and stuff on ketoevangelistcoaching.com. So if there's anyone that wants to come at it more from a mental aspect than a strictly physical one, those are the kind of people I like to work with as well.
Very cool. Very cool. Okay, so we skipped a very important thing earlier. We skipped our shout outs. So let's circle back to that real quickly. And
Chris, you need to go first. You never get to go first on this.
Okay.
And I always worry that Alberto or I are going to steal yours. So I want you to have carte blanche right now.
Well, I appreciate that. I am going to shout out our good friend, Bertie Druckmann. He has been killing it being a resource to our beginners group. And so really want to shout him out. And he's doing awesome himself. Like you can tell that he's honestly doing really well in his own journey. But the fact that he's putting himself out there, really taking the bull by the horns and the beginners group and being a huge resource to the beginners group and answering questions and putting things out there himself. Really want to say thank you and keep up the amazingly good work that you're doing, Bernie. That you're making a difference.
Awesome, Alberto.
I'm going to go with actually I'm going to go with two. First of all, our good friend Tony, Low Carb Wichita Falls. Tony's whose last name is Nicola. It's his mom's 85th birthday, and she's got quite the miraculous story that we've all talked about. So we won't dive too deep into that. But yeah, she wasn't supposed to make it past I believe 78, let alone 85, and she had a birthday. So I definitely want to call that out. And other than that, in the beginners group, we have one Jeremiah Connor who just happened to reach out to and post that he was struggling trying to figure out macros, and of all people, Bernie was one of the first people that commented with some good advice. And then I had thrown a couple of comments on there, and Brad, you can tell me what you think about this, but I kind of took him on a different approach to simplify things. But I pretty much told him, worry about carbs and focus on the percentages, not so much the calories and the macros. I would just keep your percentages in point, keep your carbs low, and just eat till you're full and kind of see where it falls and how you feel. And he's been actually sending me screenshots on a regular basis. I just saw that he sent me today's numbers, as he calls it. And I mean, the guy's eating good. He's eating anywhere from 2,700 to 3,000 calories a day, and his percentages are right on point, and seems to be feeling great, and everything seems to be going good. So, I mean, good for him for taking the accountability, and just all it takes for him is to send me a couple pictures and for me to respond that he's doing a good job and keep him on the right track, and we help this guy out, and that's what it's all about, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Great job. I'm shouting out Eddie Funyuns. And I love the last name. And I really don't think that is a true last name for Mr. Eddie, but it might be. So, okay.
Very cool. Well, let's go around the horn real quick with the contact information, and then we'll wrap things up. So, Jim, how can people get a hold of you outside of the group?
It is Jim Inman JR on Instagram.
Very cool. Alberto?
L.Keto
Very good. And I'm at Duckman Keto on Instagram as well. You can contact and reach us as a podcast on Instagram by following and reaching out to at Keto Man's Club Podcast. And we've got our website with all of the links to everything. And we've got all the links to everything in the on our website, theketomansclub.com. All the links to our Facebook group, to the Facebook page that you can leave a review on, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, just all the important links are there. So check out the website, theketomansclub.com. If you get the chance to, please take a few moments to visit and take the opportunity to leave a bit of a review or at least just a rating. It helps the algorithm gets these incredible stories of the men that we have on out into the world and in front of more people so that their stories can help transform more lives. And that's really and truly what we're all about. So that's really primarily it. Any other business that we missed? Jim, do you want to recap? No, we had a little technical glitch there that I jumped ahead on.
No, I was all talking about my shout out, and then I looked and my phone was muted. So my shout out is to Eddie Funyuns, who I love the last name. I don't think it's a legit last name, but we're going to roll with it. He celebrated 100 days of keto, went from 468 to 396. Dude is making an awesome transformation, and just keep on going, Eddie.
Absolutely. Yeah, we caught everything up to the name portion, and then you went silent, and I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna move on.
Those things happen.
Yeah, I'm like, he must have made quite the impression.
He left me speechless. That's what
that's it exactly. That's it exactly. Okay, I did forget to mention our voicemail line. You can leave us a voicemail with a question, comment, and it might be used on the podcast at some point in time by calling 512-518-6161, and we'll do all we can to get that get that plugged into the podcast. We do have a voicemail or two that were testimonials that were offered during our promotion of our butcher block that went out to our good friend Corey, who's been on the podcast. So congrats, Corey. It's a really, really nice chopping block for sure, and he'll enjoy that a lot, I have a feeling. So that's it for this week. Until next week, make sure to eat meat, lift heavy, sleep, and repeat. Thank you for joining us for the Keto Man's Club podcast. Your support means the world to us. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Would you help us spread the word about the Keto Man's Club by sharing with your friends and family? We're available on all podcast platforms, so just search for Keto Man's Club and you'll find us. If you would like to connect with us, you can do so a number of ways. Our web address leads to our Facebook group, theketomansclub.com. That's TheKetoMansClub.com. You can also follow us on Instagram at Keto Man's Club Podcast. Lastly, if you have any comments or questions, feel free to reach out via email to KetoMansClubPodcast@gmail.com. Thank you again for joining us today, and we look forward to hanging out with you again next week.